Alright, good afternoon everyone. My name is Patrick Hawe. I'm an associated member of T3 Trading Group, which is an SEC registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA SIPC. All trades placed by myself are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable in light of your own financial condition. Please pause the video, read this disclosure. Position update. I got stopped out of Pfizer unfortunately on Friday afternoon after the market closed. Ended up recovering okay today on that, but Pfizer with some lowered guidance on a Friday afternoon, pretty odd and unfortunate, but that's how this game goes sometimes. So today's Monday, October 16th. We're coming off of a weird end to the week last week. Obviously there's no afternoon meeting on Friday, but if you guys remember on Thursday, for those following on YouTube, and then obviously in the room we've been paying attention as well, we had a weird week to the end last week where market traded down twice intraday, and actually both of those days we had gapped up okay as well. The start of the week was pretty slow last week. It was choppy. We were looking for some rest. We were kind of getting that rest, but still trading up throughout the days. Actually, Monday was a big day as well. Big day after Friday was a huge rally day. 2 Fridays ago now. So slower starts of the week. Then Thursday was the day that the VIX didn't really do too much. We were looking for rest. We weren't really getting that rest. We had the 30-year bond auction hit at 1 o'clock in the afternoon that Thursday, which really sank TLT lower, aka interest rates higher. It was a pretty poor auction, so to speak. And that actually ended up sending the market lower on Thursday, and we got the correction we were looking for in a way that we weren't really expecting. And then follow through on to Friday, and Friday was another kind of weird and interesting day as well, where TLT really didn't do too much on Friday. If you just look at the daily candle for TLT there, you can see pretty much just a doji day on Friday, which actually we got another doji day today too. Definitely talk about that in a second. But the VIX was the big story on Friday. I guess I can pull up UVIXY. You can see UVIXY with a big candle there. I should have my trading view up though. Yeah. So you can see on Friday that daily candle, really, really, really big and impressive rally from the VIX on Friday. Was it people just nervous going into the weekend? You never know if we get some horrible, hopefully not, but kind of shock factor news, so to speak, over the weekend with the kind of overseas developments that are going on. People just nervous about that. Whatever the case may be, VIX rallied in a really, really big way on Friday. Just pulling back the intraday chart here, you can see just huge rally, pulled back at one point intraday, continued the rally throughout the day, to the point where the VIX actually more or less matched highs for the month of October. VIX traded up over 20 for a high of, what is this, upper 20s, 2078 or so, which is where the VIX traded to when SPY made its low down at 420 back here when we ended up bottoming out. So that's pretty impressive to see VIX matching the lows for when we were down at 420, and that was after we had come off of both that jobs number and then the kind of more hawkish Fed meeting, where SPY came down from call it 445 or so down to 420 in a pretty fast way, and the VIX had only gotten to mid upper 20s in that move. And then come Friday, kind of out of nowhere, we weren't really expecting it. I mean, I think we were kind of expecting some weakness. We were cautious from the day before, from that bond auction. We actually rallied a little bit on Friday in the morning too, but then sold off decently with, again, that VIX rally that just had a sustained bid all day. I guess I could pull up the intraday from UVIXY for that day too. So yeah, that was Friday, which you can see this is the 30-year bond auction in the afternoon on Thursday. That just ripped the VIX higher as well. And then Friday was just big continuation on that. So then coming into the new day, the new week, this week, today's Monday. No shock factor really over the weekend. Things aren't exactly going well over there. We hope that they do get better, but nothing really too crazy. So coming into this morning, we gapped up pretty decently by the open. We were gapping up a little bit pre-market, and then throughout the pre-market session, we started to grind up higher a bit. The VIX was more or less trading down all of the pre-markets. I can pull up a pre-market charts here. So you can see from Friday a little bit of a gap down, trending lower pre-market. Market opened, washed out, and then really just trended lower all day. So today was a slower Monday in general, and this VIX was certainly the tell of the tale, I guess, if you will, from today's action. Looking back from the morning, we had come back to this TLT. We had a pretty notable gap down in this TLT this morning. A little surprised that this didn't move at all today, really, given that it didn't really move at all on Friday either. You can see this is probably the tightest 2 TLT intraday trading sessions that this thing has had in quite a while, really, since we're back here a lot more stable, back towards, I guess this is like beginning of September or so. But this was getting pressed down, getting a little bit nerve-wracking back over here when this thing looked like it had tried to bottom, washed out one more time, kind of stabilized, big gap down, finally bottomed out on that big gap down day, saw a nice follow through, and then this big red candle is the Thursday 30-year bond auction day. Then Friday, and that was the other interesting too, I remember from Friday morning with the huge VIX rally that day, was TLT was almost gapping up over Thursday's session, looking to possibly negate Thursday's move, which that was the whole reason the market sold off on Thursday, was that TLT move. And TLT had been actually trending down into that 1 p.m. bond auction before that move had even hit. So then we come in today, Monday, new day, new week, and TLT doesn't quite negate that move from Thursday, but it holds its gap up pretty well, which is theoretically impressive. But then another big gap down today, and then another really, really tight session from TLT. Really nothing there at all today. So similar to Friday, the story was the VIX just in the opposite way. Huge rally from the VIX on Friday, pretty big down move from it today, and that's mixed with a TLT that really did nothing. A dollar that was a little bit down today as well. That dollar was also a little bit up on Friday. The dollar hasn't been quite as in play these past few days. It's more or less been consolidating on this weekly, daily bigger picture chart. Definitely still in an uptrend. Don't get me wrong, that's definitely in an uptrend still, but this kind of violent, like 45-degree angle trend is starting to push out a bit and is more just flagging now on the weekly chart. So nice move up intraday today from this morning. We topped out around 437, and if you look at this daily chart here too, that was more or less the high from last week. Maybe we got to 438. That's 437 and change, 430, mid 436s. That was an open pretty much at 437. So yeah, this 437 level on SPY, I'm not exactly sure what level this is for S&P futures or S&P itself, but this seems to be our level of resistance that we're really dealing with. And even still with this VIX move, we couldn't really get past it. The VIX was able to sell off more or less all day, including this afternoon, but this is our clear intraday resistance level for now that SPY may or may not be setting to break higher this week. Probably going to depend on a few things, but we had a nice move this morning from the VIX, topped out at this 437 around 11 or so, and then that was really it for the rest of the day. It was a pretty quiet Monday, besides like a nice morning up move. We had this one flash in the afternoon lower. I didn't really see anything on that, and I don't think anyone else really did either. And that was more or less the biggest bounce that the VIX saw today, and I think that was really just it. That's how slow it was today. There was pretty much nothing going on at all, so you just have all these robots kind of trading intraday off the VIX when TLT's not really in play, dollar's not too much in play. Dollar trending lower a little bit, so again, that's helping the bulls overall. So even though the bears had this one little shining bright moment today, within 10 minutes or so, it's negated, goes right back down. That SPY, which was kind of a violent sell-off, probably just intraday stops getting hit, as well as people looking to short an intraday breakdown, trying to press a short, and then they're getting stopped immediately. SPY negates the move right away, but doesn't really see follow through after that. Kind of match that high of 437, even though the VIX was able to trade lower. And so after that, we're left with a better looking daily chart, starting to be looking a little bit better. But again, it was such a weird, now my daily chart's giving like a, yeah, there we go. So yeah, looking okay. You got this 50 right here coming down from, I guess, a little under 440 now. So that's something to watch as well. But overall, looking a little better. Take a look around the other components, the other indices. Q's looking good inside day today. Did SPY inside day? It's not, I don't think so. Yeah, SPY broke Friday's high. Q's are an inside day. They've been holding up way better though in general. In this whole correction from SPY down to 420, Q's didn't really ever look too bad in the first place. IWM has been the general weaker one. Nice day today. That daily chart looks, I guess, a little better. It's certainly still in a downtrend. Can't say that looks good per se, but decent gap up, closing over Friday's high. It's a good start for sure for IWM. And then the Dow, just taking a look at the Dow real quick too. Better. Kind of breaking out a little bit actually today. Kind of what SPY might be looking to do for that 437 level. And that's without Boeing rallying. Boeing now looks like it's finding buyers under 184. 184 and under for Boeing, but still no rally there. And then just taking one more look at our VIX charts, the actual VIX from the day. So big day on Friday, big down day today. It is still an inside day for the VIX, and this VIX, clearly the range has widened. So can this go right back up? For sure. Is this a solid red candle that is going to lead to bleeding lower? Very possibly as well. Probably going to have to see what happens. At this point, the bears are definitely going to be looking for this to rally back up, though this VIX really shouldn't be getting below 16. I remember 16, we were talking about the 16 resistance back over here. It had broken through 16, it's retested 16 and held it on, I guess this was Wednesday. Yeah, because this was Friday, so, oh no, I'm sorry, Thursday. Thursday it actually broken down below 16. And that was the Thursday, the bond auction where we were looking for the market to kind of come in a little bit, and it just seemed like it really couldn't until it finally did at 1 p.m. that afternoon. But the VIX had gone below 16 that day and then ended up reclaiming it, closing back above it. So bears want to see this 16 hold. Bulls want to see us get back, break back below this 16, and eventually bleed back down towards like 15 and 14. If SPY is going to try to really break out over 437, and if we're breaking over 437 here, yes, 440 is a target, but we're probably looking for more than just 440. A break of 437 to 440 and then a failure of 440. That's not really too exciting there. Probably looking for more like even 445 or something like that. And then the VVIX as well. It's kind of the same story. It's a big candle from Friday, another big candle today, but it's still an inside day for that. And the VVIX actually on Friday, VIX was so crazy on Friday that VVIX got way above our October high. VVIX actually got to the highest point this is traded at since the SVB blow up back in March. That's just, again, kind of proof, if you will, or just adds to the concept of kind of how crazy that VIX move was on Friday. So same thing, big candle Friday, inside day there today. It's a big red candle. The range is much bigger for this VIX, but bulls are excited to see this back below that 100 level. When this trades above 100, that's when the VIX really starts to expand. When it's below 100, that's when the VIX starts to really contract. So that's progressive. We'll see if that continues to bleed out throughout this week or not. and that's more or less the look from today. Again, definitely a quieter Monday overall. We have a somewhat busy week. It's not too busy. Some economic data sprinkled throughout the week. No huge data points really. Retail sales is tomorrow morning. Let me just double check that, but I'm pretty sure we have retail tomorrow. It's either tomorrow or Tuesday. I mean Wednesday. Yeah, Tuesday. So we have retail sales tomorrow. Retail has been a pretty main focus because of how more or less destroyed it's been getting. Take a look at XRT real quick. This XRT actually had a decent day today, but that's had a pretty big move down overall. And most of us know many names from Target to VIX to Nike to even Walmart and Costco and those types of names have also been getting destroyed. Nike threw 100 today. Hopefully, whoever brought that up in the morning meeting caught that. Dick's Sporting Goods, another one since that disastrous earnings report. Still hasn't really fully recovered that. Walmart and Costco did recover those sell-off days, but those are solid. Oh, and then Dollar General and Dollar Tree too. This Dollar General, they brought their old CEO back on, I guess, Friday, so that had a nice little gap up on Friday, but it's not a huge recovery for that stock. I mean, that thing's still pretty beaten up. And same thing with this Dollar Tree. So retail in general has been a pretty big focus. Retail sales tomorrow morning will be interesting. And then the rest of the week, there's some stuff, it's a little bit quieter, but earnings season is beginning as well. So tomorrow morning, some more banks report: Bank of America, Goldman, Johnson & Johnson, Lockheed Martin. Then United Airlines reports after the close tomorrow. And then Netflix and Tesla on Wednesday really kick it off for big cap tech and everything like that. And then next week is a lot more heavier as well. And there's a ton of other earnings names this week. Too many for me to list out, but earnings season is definitely starting again. So it's always good to have a little bit more of a focus than just, last week we had a lot of days of, market may rest, market probably should rest, market should rest. During earnings season, even when it's a day when the market should rest, those earnings names definitely don't have to rest. So that can be a good focus too. And yeah, I think that's all I got today. So happy to take a look at any questions anyone has. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about, but I don't think so. So yeah, happy to take a look at any questions you guys got. Let me just type something out real quick. And then, I gotta pull up the YouTube too, see if I miss anything on that. Second. Okay, that should be good. And then scroll back up here. First gonna see from Dave S. Hey Pat, just want to point out and ask about some levels I think are important right now for sure. On SPX we have this 43.80 level that we tested several times last week, then bounced back from a 2-day sell-off just to chop against it today. 43.80 I'm guessing is our 437 for SPY. And now, since I'm curious, I can just look at my futures chart real quick. Where's trading again? There it is. Because I do like to know that futures level as well. didn't quite get up to that today. Interesting. It's a little choppier there. 4,420, roughly. Anyway, let me finish your question. We also have Rut successfully defending and trading away from 1720. Yeah, I assumed they were cash because you said SPX. 1720, got this 2 weeks ago in my mind. If you wanted to make things really simple, you could think about both those levels as the green light for both bulls and bears for the foreseeable future. Once we see some sort of resolution in either direction, what are your thoughts on these levels and that thought process? Also, what was the massive 30-minute outside bar? The 1 p.m., honestly, I don't know, other than I do know that the VIX upticked there. I didn't really see anything on that move. It possibly could have just been robots fighting robots all day, and you get robots that just follow the trend. Trend breaks a little bit. If you're trailing super tightly here, you're riding that. This bar is triggering super tight stops. Then you break this pivot here, and that triggers some more stops. And then you break this pivot here, that triggers some more stops, and then it's kind of done and it sells back down. And that was enough, force sensitive enough really to see that flash down. I didn't see a perfect headline for that though. I don't know if anyone else ended up figuring anything out about that, but didn't see anything other than just a VIX pop. It did seem worse. Well, it seemed worse than it was, but it also still ended up negating it. So, that's just how things move these days. So I like your thoughts on the levels that you are watching. I always like to try because it sounds like you're kind of thinking about it in a bigger picture way, bigger picture move. I always like to have that VIX confirmation when I'm looking for things like that. So, and yeah, it looks like you're right on that level. Let me just make sure 16 is the level that we really need for VIX. Friday's low, 1650. Yeah, I mean, I like your thought process, Dave. I would say probably at a minimum, I would really want VIX below Friday's low, 1650. You definitely eventually are going to need to break this 16 back, though. The 16 is definitely a real level in VIX. Again, it was resistance all back here. It broke above it. It retested it, held, retested again, held. So 1650 for a start. Eventually, you'll definitely need under 16. If you can get that with your levels breaking, then for sure. If your levels break and that VIX isn't below 1650 and the VVIX looks like it should be down more than it is, but it isn't, it could be a sign of a kind of a false break higher. We'll see what things look like when we get there, though. But I agree. I mean, SPY's daily chart is definitely building out well. Obviously, many people can see that, so we'll see what actually happens. But yeah, I like your levels for sure. For the radar, tomorrow's the last day to trade VIX options. VIX expiration Wednesday, yep. And this Friday is the third Friday in October, so it's October options expiration as well this Friday. That's always fun. Just kidding. So yeah, that's interesting, Bill, on the VIX expiration, especially after that big move on Friday. Target still trading flat. Yeah, Target. Definitely a bit of a mess there. Did not trade well today. It's kind of disappointing. Varun said, any news ITLT is moving up after hours? Also, what happened at 120? We're not sure, Varun. Maybe Derek went to the doctor in Africa or something. Quick dentist appointment in Africa. Other than that, just the VIX pop. TLT moving up after hours. I'll double check. I don't think I saw anything on that. Fed's Harker had some speak after after hours. Fed Harker reiterates rate hikes likely done. Projects an ebbing in inflation. Fed should hold rates steady. Absence turn data. This Fed's starting to get more dovish. I mean, yeah, I saw you post that, Bill. I don't think that was really it though. I didn't really see that get circulated either though, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, there's the Fed speak after hours room for that TLT moves, probably helping it a bit. Let me check YouTube. I think I saw something. Hey Pat, do you think one could press the gas pedal to the long side if the UP confirms the lower high by losing 26.20 TLT, negating the auction day sell off above 88? TLT 88, UP 26.90. Oh wait, what did you say for UP? 29.60, right? That makes more sense. Yes, and then 88 TLT. Yeah. This TLT, I would think, is not going to be a tight doji every single day this week. Again, kind of surprised at how tight that was on Friday. We were also surprised at how big the gap up was on Friday. Today, I was surprised with how tight it was. I was also surprised with the gap down coming into this morning. So yes and yes, but I would probably go back to what I just said to Dave about that VIX, where more or less this VIX seems to be the hot focus for now, ever since Friday, I guess. Kind of changing day to day. I mean, Thursday was a big day with that TLT move, but for the most part now, these past 2 days, the TLT and the dollar haven't really been affecting us as much as the VIX has. So yes and yes to you, but definitely just watch that VIX as well, specifically 1650 and 16. Might as well check VVIX to see what level we should pay attention to there. I mean, ultimately, this is going to have to get back under 90. Friday's open/low. Looks like in the 92.50 area. And this lower 90 area is the same thing as VIX. It was resistance, broke through it, been holding its support now. So as long as those check out for you, you think you should be good. Like, I think that the market would have a better chance going higher on a TLT and a UUP that isn't as supportive for the market, but a VIX that's going down versus a TLT and a UUP that is supportive for the market, but the VIX is like going up, if that makes sense. It's not that one matters and the other doesn't. It's not necessarily that one's more important than the other. But the VIX flow is pretty powerful, and we've seen that on display the past 2 days so far. So something, we get another TLT. Like, the CLT gap down is big today. It didn't really affect us too much. But if that does continue lower this week, it certainly will become noticeable again. But if it doesn't continue lower, it's just going to be at the minimum going sideways on the daily, which is stabilization, and that's supportive as well. So hope that makes sense. And you're saying you like pins on the break of 29 after some backing and filling. Me too. I mean, this pins 28, 29 has been annoying me for quite a long time now, to the point where I'm kind of getting sick of it. I've had a price target of 35 on this for a long time. It almost got there in the last earnings report, got to 32. They sold it off. This pins just loves to get to the upper 20s and then sell back off, and then it keeps holding. It keeps holding. The news keeps being fine in it. I haven't really had a reason to ditch it per se, but I am getting a little sick of this range bound action, and I would think that eventually this can put in an okay move over 30 if things line up for it. And I mean, you still got Elliott in there, management increasing their positions and everything. So I like the story, but but the more time goes on, it's kind of gone from this thing holds really well to, okay, why isn't this thing going higher? So we'll see. Probably gonna have to get through another report in that at least. Yeah, I know. I've thought about that too. I mean, I'm gonna do more of that eventually. I just haven't really been building into multiple names like that. In this past kind of, I guess, year or so with this market bounce, I've been more keeping it to lesser names but bigger size in those lesser names when the times call for it, and being kind of flexible with that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And it has the right robo keywords, yeah. You'd like my feedback on Boeing reports next week. Netflix, I know, reports Wednesday. Netflix was one of the things we had on our list this morning, actually. I don't know if anyone managed to catch that. Hopefully some of you guys did. I'm never going to be able to have a list of like 10 names and be able to, be trying to look at everything and be catching every single name. So just because someone's mentioning something and someone else isn't taking it doesn't mean you shouldn't take it if everything lines up for you. So Netflix worked okay today. I was looking at this one on Friday, and it looked like it wanted to rally on Friday, and it kind of did a little bit. It held up, but the VIX was really powerful on Friday. So we're looking for just follow through on this today, roughly around the 356 level. 354 was kind of support on Friday. I think that's roughly where I was buying, 354, 353 or so. So that one did a little. Oh, they had I think a headline this morning too, or not a headline, but just an article about it possibly looking to raise prices with apparently their password sharing crackdown or whatever is working well for them as well. Overall, it's been weaker, though. It's been weaker. This day, with this big tail, was the day that that price hike headline actually came out. And usually, price hikes on Netflix is a pretty good news event for it. And it did trade up that day, and it sold all the way down. Since then, it's lower now. It's pretty bad action, honestly. So we'll see. Honestly, I don't think I have any thoughts on this until we see how this report goes. Because it's relatively weak, and it's probably not going to magically be, I don't know, you only have one day before the report, right? So, or I guess 2 days, but see how that report goes. Speaking of earnings, I guess I'll finish your question too. Then Boeing, I kind of talked about this already, but 2 days in a row of 2 lower wicks in the same area that it also found buyers in when it actually, I guess not bottomed, but managed to find a better bounce. So it looks like there's some real buyers in this Boeing 140 and under. But there's different types of buyers. These are more supportive buyers. They're not buying on the way up and buying aggressively, but someone is finally stepping in and starting to buy this Boeing. And it's a good sign to see a couple wicks coming in on that. So Boeing looks like this buyer's under 184. That doesn't mean you buy it here and you stop out under 184. I suppose you could give it to this low 182.50. That's the low from today. This low is 182.55. I like that even a little bit more. It broke that low by 5 pennies today and reclaimed it from this candle over here. So you could maybe be looking at Boeing long versus today's low. Maybe we can watch that. I might watch that tomorrow. But same thing though, relatively weak, like very, very relatively weak. Probably not going to go down forever though. So looks like there's some buyers stepping in there. What I was going to say too, speaking of earnings season, it does seem like we are kind of getting into an environment where bad news isn't really reacting as bad as you would think it would be. That Pfizer was one from today where this actually ended up trading up today, which is pretty annoying, but it is what it is. There's something else I think there's at least one other name this morning too. What was it? Oh, Schwab. Schwab reported this morning the numbers were really not that good. I guess they weren't the worst numbers in the world, but I don't think you could say they were good numbers. But the Schwab ended up trading higher this morning as well on those not so great numbers. So it's early. Earnings season hasn't really started yet or anything. It's barely just starting, but we'll see if, what kind of reactions we get. Do we get bad numbers and not so bad reactions? That's obviously a pretty bullish sign. So yeah, it should be interesting. And that Netflix in particular is probably going to be a good case study for that because it has been so relatively weak where, if they have a bad report, does it get absolutely destroyed or maybe not so much? We'll see. It should be interesting though, especially for Netflix. See some shatter in the VTF, just going through that. Someone on YouTube asking if I trade crypto. I don't trade crypto. If crypto is really in play and moving, I'll type up BTO just to see what Bitcoin is doing intraday or something like that. If crypto is really moving, I will certainly trade a coin or a Riot or a Mara or something like that. Usually, coin will be my go-to. Just a bit higher quality than the others, but at this point, they all more or less look alike on their charts. Mara is actually a bit worse than Riot at this point. But other than that, no, I don't really trade crypto at all. Nor am I a big fan of crypto, but to each his own. Rich N says, check out the BA weekly chart. I'm sure it looks terrible. Let's see just how terrible it looks. Yeah. That's so ugly to break out like that and then negate it. It's super disappointing. 170, a big level. So is 180 though. I don't know. On the flip side, you do have weekly extension, so to speak. The weekly ADMAs in the mid 190s. So you do have that going for you. But yeah. Technically, I guess this could double bottom on the daily, but that'd require a move back up through 200. And if that were the case, it'd be 185 to 200, 15 points. That gets you a measured move to 215, which would be decent. NBD. I never typed this name up. Looks good though. That looks not too bad, especially after today. It's a thinner name. It's part of the reason why I don't really ever trade it. This thing has gaps on its 5-minute chart. Yeah, it's kind of gappy on that 5-minute chart. But technically speaking, what's this level? 368? 370? It looks like 365 is kind of an important level, which it actually is closing above today. Even on these days where it traded up, it didn't close above that 365. So that's a decent day one for that MDB, I will say. Next is through 370, and you should be able to get 380 out of that. But actually, again, I don't really ever trade that or look at that, but it's a pretty good close for that today. I'd be happy if that were my name and it were closing like that today, kind of negating that move on Friday. Reversal of the reversal. Reverse. Eddie says Netflix will likely move over its current implied move if they miss. Oh yeah, Netflix could. I could see that going both ways. Definitely. Seems. I mean, speaking of bad news with not so bad reactions, that thing's the opposite with that price hike. I guess that was like 2 weeks ago at this point now, but good news isn't really trading this thing too well. A good market isn't really trading it too well either. So, yeah, I don't know. I could see that getting hurt again too. 400 of good news. We'll see. I don't know what that's gonna price. Probably gonna price like, I don't know, probably a lot, like 30 points or something. But yeah, it's possible. It's not, I mean, Netflix is crazy, so it's not like it's impossible. But does that, 300's not impossible either if it's really that bad. So definitely got to be careful with that one. I've seen some crazy Netflix earnings moves. All right, looks like I got through everything. So yeah, slower Monday today. Market's looking better, a little bit better. IWM still has work to do though. Today's a down day for the VIX, but it's an inside day. One down day doesn't make a trend, or one day I guess in general doesn't make a trend. So we'll see how they gap that. We'll see how they gap this TLT too. Moving up a little bit on some Fed speak after hours here. Kind of already given that back though. But 2 days in a row now where TLT gapped a lot one way or the other and then didn't really do anything intraday. So we'll see how they gap that overnight. And then retail sales tomorrow morning. Do we get bad economic data and the market doesn't react as badly as it could or should? That'll be interesting. See one more question here. KDP, Dr. Pepper. I am a fan of this soda. As far as the charts, I guess another retail name, destroyed. Coke, Pepsi have also been getting destroyed. Coke traded okay today. Pepsi also traded okay today. But Diet Dr. Pepper is definitely the best diet soda out there for sure. KDP is extended on the weekly chart. You do have that going for you. I'm sure Coke and Pepsi, the story's similar there. Inside day and up today. I don't know. I mean, the main thing is your extension, and it got so extended that your 8 and 21 have a pretty big gap going. So even though the 20 or the 8 is below 30 now, you definitely do have a chance of seeing that through that daily ADMA. Maybe a $30, but I mean, I don't know, it's broken. At this point, you probably gotta wait for earnings. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, anything else is hard in that, unless you don't mind giving it all the way down to those recent lows. And even those recent lows are, I mean, there's a little wick here, and then Friday was over. I guess Friday it did trade well with an up VIX day, and then today it held that level again. 28, mid 27s. If you want to give it down to mid 27s, then okay. Other than that, though, it's broken. That needs to do some work and look better. Can't really say too much about it. And Coke and Pepsi is the same thing. I mean, Coke, I guess, is kind of wedging out a little bit, but can't really say it looks good. So, yeah, we'll see that. Varun talking to himself. Other than that, looks like I think I got through everything. So yeah, so we'll see how they gap that TLT. Two big gaps in a row there. SPY looking good. Possible 437 breakout. Setting up a little mini breakout, just for like a 440 50-day test there. And if we get that 437 to really break, we'll see if the VIX is confirming that or not. Retail sales tomorrow as well. And yeah, we'll go from there. So some data before the open tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow morning. Have a good night, everybody.